Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely stream deck. For more information about the stream deck, the link is in the description below.
Hello everyone and welcome to Apex Online Racing Formula 1 action. We are here today in Le Castellet, France for round number 5 for the French Grand Prix for the PC European F1 Championship. The French Grand Prix is brought to you by our sponsors, Elgato, SIMSOK, and Driver61. Go ahead and be sure to check them out sometime today or during the week. I am Fizzymon, and I will be your host today. And alongside me, as always, is Benikage. Benny, how are you feeling about today's race?
Feeling good. I'm not a huge fan of Paul Ricard, but should be a great track for a lot of drivers. I think a lot of new drivers that we haven't seen really find too much pace before have a big opportunity to do that here tonight.
I do agree on that one. I think we're going to see a lot of different strategies being brought to light here today. But before we go ahead and get to the track, while the drivers are still getting ready to get into the lobbies, let's go ahead and take a look at the championship standings for our tier and all the other ones. So we're going to go ahead, and on the screen now, you can see our current championship standings for PC F1. As you can see at the top, we have a dead tie. Actually, it is in the wrong order. Jan Fehler should technically be in first place due to countback, as he has 2 race wins versus Ripson's 1. So the McLaren driver is technically in first place. Ripson down to second after leading the championship in the previous round. And third place is Sauerbraten, who is not a reserve driver. Actually hasn't been updated on the site, but he is in third place right now. He will be driving the Aston Martin. And fourth place is FVR Darn, who had an unfortunate DNF last week in Baku, looking to rebound and get his 3rd podium of the season, perhaps. And in 5th place is the Ferrari driver of F1 Racer, who was another victim to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, looking to have a good rebound. Now, over to the team championship. The reserves are still leading the way, but they lost their main front runners in Ripson and Sauerbraten. Behind them is the McLaren team with 71 points, leading the Alpine and Williams team by a mile, with Ferrari down in 5th place. That is your Tier 1 standings. Now for our Tier 2 standings, if you want to go ahead and check them out, we have our sister stream over on the AOR YouTube channel. They are currently broadcasting Tier 2, and they have all the information for Tier 2. As for Tier 3, we do not have updated graphics this week because the tier did not update the results, so we do not have an update on you. For you guys, Creepy Drive was the championship leader by 30 points, but again, we don't have an update. So instead, Benny's going to go ahead and tell us about the last 2 races in F4, as we did not have an updated championship standings for last week.
Absolutely. So it's Garrett who leads the way. It's his first non-podium performance in Baku, but he still leads the championship by 8 points over 29. Balu, who got his first race win of the season in Baku, so that jumps him up 2 positions into 2nd place ahead of Leonard, who DNF'd in Baku, didn't start in the Monaco race either. Ludimir is down to 4th position. He could not start in Baku, but he did win that Monaco race to give him a nice, healthy 25 points on top of the 15 from his opening race, which was in Spain, actually. And then SLI is sitting in 5th position after a 2nd place in Monaco and a 5th place in Azerbaijan. So he's also got about an 8-point gap over 6th place. But over to the team standings, the constructor standings. AlphaTauri leads the way. They are on 106. McLaren is 22 back on 84, and then it's another 22 to get to Alpine in 3rd. Red Bull are 13 off that with 49, and then it's another large gap, this time 26, to the Williams in 5th. Over to Tier 5 now, Fizzy.
Tier 5, let's go ahead and take a look at that. I did not hit the right button there. I do apologize. And there we have it. Victor Waza with a nice 22-point lead in his Ferrari over Sine. Now, if you remember, Sine was leading the championship after round number 3, but he fell victim to Baku, and Victor Waza retook the championship lead. Actually, no, he kept his championship lead after Sine came hard charging. Dak Attack in 3rd place in his Aston Martin. A decent amount of points away from Victor Waza, but he's trying to battle for P2 for the time being. Max Duca up 3 positions, up into 4th in his Alfa Romeo, and rounding out the top 5 is Tom JD, down a position after only coming home in 5th in Azerbaijan. Now over to the Teams Championship. Ferrari dominating up front with 96 points. Alfa Romeo up 4 positions, though, getting 61 points after a fantastic result in Baku. They actually finished 1st and 6th. Williams with down a position with 51 points. Aston Martin with 45. And Haas rounding out the top 5 with 41. Over to F6, Benny.
F6, it is RF Gangster leading the way. He's got a 4th place in Azerbaijan to keep the championship lead. He's on to 72 points. But Boxer Frog has won 2 on the bounce after a DNF in Bahrain and a podium in Spain. He's won 2 on the bounce. He's up to 66 points. He's just 6 back. Lucio is in 3rd on 52 after 5th place finish in Azerbaijan. And then Skady after 2 DNFs is going to bounce back with a 2nd place in Azerbaijan. That's going to give Skady 4th place, and then Urti with another points finish, 8th place, is going to maintain that 5th position. He's dropped 1, but he's still 12 ahead of his nearest rival in the championship. Over to team standings, Mercedes leads the way on 109 points, 37 ahead of the Alfa Romeo, who have just a very fine margin of 2 points over the Haas in 3rd, 40 back to Williams in 4th, and then Scuderia AlphaTauri are in 5th, just 3 points off that. Over to the final main tier, F7.
F7 is currently led by the McLaren of Jersias. The Finnish driver with 2 back-to-back wins in Monaco and Azerbaijan has promoted him to the championship lead after Arfa DNF'd in Baku. So we do have a championship battle brewing, as both of those drivers have won all 4 races. AMAD in his Haas in 3rd place, holding strong with 52 points. Steve in 4th in the Mercedes, and rounding out the top 5 is AOR Gutschnatz in the Haas. He's up a position, up into 29th. Now over to the constructor standings. McLaren up 1 position, up into 1st, followed by Haas. So new top 2 with 87 and 81 points is really close, because Jersias currently carrying the McLaren team, but the 2 Haas drivers in the top 5 in the points. Red Bull down 2 positions after Arfa's DNF and his teammate not really giving him much health. Mercedes in 4th and Ferrari in 5th. That rounds out our main tiers. Now over to Assist League 1, Benny.
Avi leads the way in Assist League 1, victory in Baku, 73 points for him at the top of the standings. And then Mick Blurk is in 2nd with another 2nd place in Baku. 3rd place in Baku, and 3rd in the championship is Tom, 24. He is in 3rd, just 4 points back with that 6th place, 15 off the top. Froxer is going to be in 4th position, 10 points back from 3rd after a DNF in Baku, and then a 4th place for Kogoda at that same track. Promotes him 2 positions into P5. Now, the team standings, McLaren leads the way on 80 points, but it's Scuderia Ferrari who are just 5 points back on 75. AlphaTauri is going to be 3 off them on 72 and 3rd, and then Mercedes in 4th on 64. And Aston Martin have a wide gap to that Mercedes in 4th place. They're 26 off of them on 38 points in 5th position. Over to Tier 2 now.
Tier 2 is led by Beyond. Beyond in the McLaren from Wales, currently up 2 positions, taking the championship lead after getting a podium in Azerbaijan. Ted in 2nd place in the Aston Martin. Ahoy Braus up to 3rd, down to 3rd, in the Williams after a disappointing no points finish. Scorp in 4th place in the Red Bull, and then Mr. Hid, after getting his first race win of the season, up into 5th, up 7 positions with 33 points to his name. He's the 4th race winner in 4 races, so maybe we'll get a 5th race winner as the top 3 in the championship. None of them have yet to stand on the top step of the podium, so everything is wide open here in AL2. Over to the constructors, though. McLaren has taken the lead over Aston Martin with an 8-point advantage. Red Bull up 2 positions into 3rd with 53 points. Alpine and Williams tied in 4th, with Alpine winning on count back. How's AL3 looking, Benny?
AL3, Catalini still remains at the top. Couldn't start for the Baku race, but a DNF from Deadeye in 2nd place after the Monaco victory secures the top spot for Catalini for another week. In Deadeye 10 back, but Delta up a position, just 2 points back after a 3rd place finish in the streets of Azerbaijan. Will start to put the pressure on Deadeye. Kushti is in 4th, just 8 points back of that, a 7th place from Kushti in Azerbaijan, and then Ria TX is DNF'd actually there, so still remains on 25 points, the only win of the season in Spain, and is actually tied on points ahead or with Schwabisek, so in 6th, so, and Countback is tied as well. Nonetheless, over to constructors, McLaren on 82 points. is leading the way. Alfa Romeo is in second place, 15 back, and then Aston Martin just 8 off them in third, 20 back to Williams, then in fourth position, are only 2 points ahead of AlphaTauri in fifth. Over to tier 4.
At the top of tier 4, once again, it's Charles Leclerc, currently with a 7-point advantage over Metza, who has gained a position and overtaken Archer for second place. However, Charles Leclerc did only get second last week, while Metza took home the race victory. So Metza on a charge in the Haas. Now, the other Aston Martin, like I said, Archer in third place, 37 points to their name, so not looking too hot after 2 DNFs in a row, hoping to rebound this week. Master Rich in fourth and Kozine in fifth. Mercedes, as you can see, 2 drivers in the top 5. Well, they are dominating the constructors here in tier 4, 94 points to the name. Haas, 61, all 61 by Metza right now. He's looking to get a little help, but they are up 2 positions over Aston Martin and AlphaTauri, with Alpine rounding out the top 5. Now for the last tier, Benny.
The final tier, last assist tier. The final tier, tier 5. Bullet Rider leading the way, 82 points, but a DNF at Baku is tightened the field over Messiah Complex, who leaps 7 positions for the second place in Baku, and a DNF from Scroto is going to push him down to third place, just a point back of that second place. 7 ahead of Daniel, who's up 6 positions at well with a 5th place finish in Azerbaijan, and then Wexel is 2 back after he could not start that Azerbaijan race. Odie is just a point back from him in 6th position, so it's really all to play for there, no standings. Nonetheless, in the constructors, Alpine is 61 points at the top, but just 2 ahead of McLaren, are only 8 ahead of the Alfa Romeo and 2 ahead of the Haas in 5th. It's very tight towards the top, just 12 points separating the top 4. Scuderia Ferrari is another 8 back in 5th position. Now, over to, are we doing the PS or the Xbox first?
PS. We actually are not doing Xbox once again. They do have their own stream on Twitch. And so please go ahead and check it out. It is currently, what did I believe I said last week? I have to re-look up the name. I do apologize so much. Let me go get that name real fast. It's on Twitch. I believe it was Jack. I'll put it in the chat. It's Andy T9897. That's Andy T9897. That is your Xbox stream, unofficial stream over there. You can go ahead and take a look at how they are doing over there. But over to PlayStation main tier, tier number 1, we have a new championship leader after a very interesting Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Our former leader and Victor, TRM Victor, did not finish in Baku, and that has opened up the door for Missimu Rallymonst in the Red Bull, currently tied with Jero Schrift at the front, but due to the more finishes that the Frenchman has over the Dutch driver, he's currently leading the way. I do apologize for that color error there, as it's the team error, as Jero is actually in an Alpine. Victor in third, Tash 22KA in fourth, and Solid Ninja rounding out the top 5, only separated by 7 points, and 4 races, 4 different winners, so everything to play for here in PS4 main tier 1. AlphaTauri leading the way by 2 points over Red Bull in the constructors, with Alpine and only another 10 back, so we have a pretty close battle here at the top of the PlayStation leagues. But let's look at the second tier, Benny.
Yeah, second tier, it is Andre Ivan who leads the way, fourth place in Baku, who's going to maintain that championship lead, but Super Jesse on the charge after a 6th place finish in Baku will promote him 1 position up at the second over Elysium, who failed to score in the points, finishing P11 in that race. Rob 2K DNF, that keeps him in 4th position, but Worthington Tonio, with a great name and a great finish, a 3rd place finish in Baku, and 2nd podium of the season for him after 2 straight DNFs. That promotes him up into 5th position, tied with Cardio Racer, who is tied on points and countback in 6th. Over in the Team Constructors Championship, AlphaTauri leads the way, 10 points over Red Bull Racing, or in second on 56 points, who have a 9-point gap to Williams. But they're tied on points with Alfa Romeo in 4th, and only 4 ahead of the McLaren in 5th. So very tight over in Tier 2. Let's go over to PS Tier 3.
Tier 3 led the way by Zoja. I'm just going to hopefully slaughter that not too badly. In the McLaren, 69 points to his name, 21 points ahead of the Mercedes driver of F1 fan Liam, who's up 2 positions after a very, very good P2 in Baku. The Swiss driver, no mercy, in 3rd place in his Alfa Romeo, while Donk Danks up into 4th in the Mercedes, and then Mika SLR down 3 positions after he disconnected in Baku. He's had a pretty bad 2 street circuit races, looking to rebound this week. McLaren, as you can see, leading the way in the constructors, followed by Mercedes. So we got a pretty close battle here, 112 to 93 points. You know, they're miles ahead of everyone else. That's why I'm thinking it's close. And as you can see in the drivers, it is still relatively close and up to play for, with Alfa Romeo in 3rd. Now for the last set of standings, we'll start with PlayStation Assist League 1, Benny.
Yeah, PlayStation Assist League number 1 at the top. Gobert Limitless leads the way. He's on 56 points, only 7 ahead of Ermis. And it's actually Gobert who jumps 2 positions after the 4th place finish in Azerbaijan. Ermis is up 4 positions as well with his win on that street circuit. He's on 49. Dark DNF there in the Baku race. He is on 44 points in 3rd. And he is just ahead of Mafia, who did not show for the Azerbaijan race. Ben Soot is 8 back with 36 points in 5th position as well after a DNF there at Baku as well. Mercedes leads the team championship on 100 points. McLaren is just 20 behind. That's a larger gap to Williams in 3rd on 29 point gap, 51 points in total for Williams. AlphaTauri are on 39 points. They're tied with the Alfa Romeo. So very tight in the constructors, at least in the middle part of the pack. But over to tier 2 now for the assists in PS4 or PS.
All right, the Assist League Tier 2 for PlayStation 4 is led by Breezy Blackout, our new championship leader. He got 2nd place in Baku, taking over Team GD Benjay in the Ferrari. He was down a position after DNFing in Baku. Multi-Rab C and holding 3rd position in the McLaren. Alex G up 7 positions after winning Azerbaijan. It's actually his best finish by a mile, so he did really good last week. And then M125 CCM in 5th place in the AlphaTauri. McLaren leading the constructors right now, 70 points. Only 2 points ahead of Aston Martin, though, so really close battle here at the top. Alfa Romeo up 2 positions into 3rd. Ferrari in 4th, and Haas rounding up the top 5. And for the last year, PlayStation Assist League 3, Benny.
PlayStation Assist League 3, it's probably some of the tightest competition we've got in any of our tiers. Levelat leads the way. 5th place is good enough for 10 points, and he's picked up, or he retains, I should say, the championship lead on 55 points, but he's only a single point ahead of Deadfly Biscuit, who came home in that 3rd position for the podium in Baku. Golden Oldie, though, 2 straight wins in Monaco and Azerbaijan, including a fastest lap in one of them, is enough to give him 51 points. He's up 3 positions after that performance. Anyway, up is in 4th on 42 points, just 13 off the lead, 9 back from Golden Oldie. And then it's FRF Clans, who is in 5th on 34 points, and he's only in 5th by count back. Over in the Team Constructors Championship, Williams leads the way, 76 points, 13 ahead of the Ferrari, who are just 4 ahead of Mercedes in 3rd. Aston Martin are another 5 back in 4th on 54 points. That's the largest gap between any teams in the Constructors Championship. AlphaTauri, 17 off of the Aston Martin on 37 points in 5th.
We definitely have a lot of good constructor standings. A lot of pretty close tiers. Thank you once again to Folksy Cash, our Xbox League runner, for these beautiful graphics, which we continue to use week in and week out. But we have good news, folks. Drivers going to the track right now. We're going to go ahead and take you on over. It is dry right now in qualifying. Will it stay that way? Well, we're going to have to wait and see on that one. I actually got to unmute the game. I do apologize. Had it muted there. No one out on track just yet, though, so we'll take this time to go ahead and thank our sponsors. Actually, we do have a weather report right now. Dry quali. Rain looks to be coming down during the race. Uncertain when it comes down, so there we have it. We have a very, very interesting race on our hands, strategy-wise, Benny.
Yeah, really interesting race because it's just the wet around Paul Richard. It can get a little bit tricky with a lot of these turns because the track does like to flow left, right on a lot of these turn sequences. And, you know, a lot of the times it's all about weight transfer, obviously, when you drive a Formula One car. And, you know, if these drivers are not too careful with that weight transfer going in and out of these left-right combos here, it could really throw the car offline.
I do agree. Now, while we see Donut Hole, the first one to leave the garage on a set of soft tires. Now, cutting a little bit of the track there, not really allowed. We'll have to keep an eye on it, and we'll have to remind the drivers. But before they go ahead and start their real laps and getting to go, we're going to thank our sponsors here today. First off, we'll go ahead and thank you, Elgato, for sponsoring Apex Online Racing. Be sure to visit Elgato's website for more information about their amazing Stream Deck. I know I'm looking to get one, and it makes a lot of things very useful, so go ahead and check out elgato.com. Thank you to SIMSOK. Don't just use any socks when driving in your league or endurance races. Use socks that will give you the edge. With SIMSOK's gripping technology, you will eliminate any issues where your feet might slip off the gas or brake, giving you the competitive edge over your rivals. Be sure to check them out at simsok.com today. Now, I would assume that SimSocks would definitely give the advantage if the race goes wet, Benny. That's for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, you know, it's a much longer race when the race is wet, and that arch support that SIMSOK provides is definitely there to help you get through those longer races when it's raining on the track.
Yes, and you know, the last thing we got to thank today is Driver 61. Driver 61 is a renowned content creator whom you may have seen on YouTube, and it's a brilliant channel for learning more about the science behind racing. But he also offers coaching sessions with 25% off a consultation session, plus a free coaching session when you use code AOR Driver 61. Learn more today at driver61.com. That's another thing that would definitely help drivers in these tricky conditions. I mean, I don't know about you, Benny, but I know from what I've driven around this track, it seems very, very hard to, like, get, you know, just get that good time. Because you can look at, like, the esport drivers and what they do on time trial. They do some amazing lap times around here, but if you just load up out of nowhere, like, it's so hard to, you know, there's such a big learning curve for this track. I think that's the word I was looking for. And then you can see with Donald really struggling right now. He did a 22-1 first sector. But, yeah, it's such a big learning curve around here, and it'll be interesting to see how the drivers cope with it, I think.
It's a very kind of like, to me, it's kind of like a bit of a, what's the word? I'm struggling for the word now. I guess it can be a sneaky, it can sneak up on you, this track. We'll put it that way. Because it looks very simple. Some of these turns feel very simple. They're very, very fast. It kind of reminds you a little bit of like those first few turns of Suzuka it does for me. But then there's just areas of the track with the slight elevation changes that it has, especially in the wet, that it just becomes very tricky to keep the car kind of pinned to the racing line, and braking zones become very difficult because you want to turn in on some of them while you're braking, and that can cause a lot of issues, obviously. But yeah, I think it's a track that's easy to learn but very hard to master.
I do agree on that. I do want to make a comment. I see there's some comments on the track about Juka. Let's just try to keep it civil. We'll see how it goes today. And we'll see how it goes. Donut Hole is going to be first across the line with a 1:29.0. I expect Pole to be into the 27s, maybe even the 26s. So I think that's something to look out for. But Donut Hole setting the pace early on. Minty, though, however, takes it by almost half a second. 1:28.5. But F1 Racer goes on top right behind him with 1:28.2. Now, with the strategy for today, you know, there's so much you can do because the tire wear around here is very strong and it's very severe on all the tires. And so you'll see like some of these better guys try to do a soft medium, but then again, you know, you're running the risk of puncture territory. But with the rain coming, it completely throws a wrench in on any of those strategies, which I thought we'd see all three tires. But with these guys putting laps in on the softs now, I think everything's wide open today, and that strategy, any kind of strategies that some of these guys have is out the window. That's for sure. So you see Goat Tudor crossing the line. Now, a lot of drivers putting in their flying laps right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at Jan Fehler, who's been on pole for most of the races this season. What do you think the German can do today, Benny?
I think he would be very happy to really compete for the race win. I think the race win is not out of the question for Jan. He showed really good pace, and you know, this is not a track that will sneak up on him like Monaco did. He was very, very unlucky in the Monaco race, I do have to say, and I don't think there's gonna be any kind of issue with that. So I think Jan Fehler, coming in here is going to be, for me, the race favorite.
Yeah, I would agree with that. 2 wins in 4 races, trying to make it 3. Could we get a new race victor today? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But he's purple through Sector 2, looking pretty good. Now, is that his championship rival, Ripson, up the road? Yes, that is Ripson, also on a flying lap. Actually, I'm not sure if he's really pushing right now. It looks like he's not. But Ripson just up the road there. I'm curious to see now F1 Racer on top. Galaxy, 10,000ths of a second behind F1 Racer with a good lap. Richie B up in the 3rd, 10th.5 off of F1 Racer. So the times are coming in, but we're keeping an eye on Ripson and Jan Fehler, the 2 drivers now coming into and out of the final corner right now. What does Ripson have to start out the day? Can Ripson potentially put it on provisional pole? He does with a 1:27.7, but Jan Fehler pips him by a 10th with a 1:27.6. So the German drivers already going at it in qualifying. Fantastic to see the 2 championship rivals, 1 and 2.
This is absolutely everything you'd want to see. The 2 championship rivals, 1 and 2, looking good. You mentioned that the lap times for pole are going to be a little bit slower, or a little bit quicker, I should say, I beg your pardon, than this 27.6. So interested to see how the track evolves and what that second lap has in store. But overall, looks pretty good from Jan and Ripson. They've pipped a lot of the field here into the 27s first, and you know, a lot of other drivers, as we see Kev Genetics go across the line with the 28.5, they're not finding these 27s yet.
I think we're definitely starting to see that learning curve here. I mean, you see Jan Valen Ripson off the rip a lot farther ahead of everyone else. I mean, they just don't seem to be on the same pace level, at least on their banker laps, as the front two. I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, it is a really, really tough track. But I see we do, so it seems like there's some brotherly love with Juka in the track. Let's go ahead and take a look at the current reserve driver. Oh, and he has a spin. Juka spins coming out of turn number 2. Probably got too much of that exit curb. That's going to ruin that set of tires. So it looks like the commentator cursed him there, Benny. But Juka, I believe, is in his debut here today. Did he race last week? I don't recall, actually.
I don't believe he did. I think this is his debut race.
Yes, and he is a rookie driver, new to AOR. So we'll see what he can do today. I mean, he's on 2-lap old softs, and he's not set a valid time yet. So we'll keep an eye on that as the session goes on. Actually, is that Richie B? Did he set his lap time on the mediums? I have it on, no, that's on tire. We're going to go to leader, and then we're going to go to best. Now, he set it on softs, but he's putting on a set of mediums in the garage, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that. But, yeah, everyone who set a lap time on the softs, Tudor not really pushing, so he might not be looking to start in the top 10. Yeah, that or he made a mistake on his lap. But, yeah, let's see. Who else is on a flying lap right now? No one really. Coming out of the final corner, we have Leors. So let's go ahead and ride on board with the Israeli driver for this lap. Benny, would you like to take us through it?
Absolutely. Trying to get a lot of speed down to this first corner. This is going to be very tricky in the wet if it's racing or raining at the start of the race. Goes really wide, takes a nice wide exit though. Looks to have it pinned very wide on the exit as well. But just on the track and down to this more technical section here. You really start in a higher gear, and you've got to keep it wound around the inside corner because you want to open up this turn 5, this a really good exit here as well, because it's very important because the long straight that comes all the way down to the Montreal chicane. So really got to nail it, and it looks like he's done just that, going flying around. Could have probably used a little bit more speed actually though, but through the speed trap and down into the Montreal chicane. Very tricky kind of chicane here just to slow the cars up. Another exit is always important that on the Montreal chicane as well, because it's another long sweeping straight, as it looks like he's gone purple. Not 100% sure on that one, but it's a nice winding turn now that tightens up a little bit here on towards the exit. So you really got to nail it because you want to get a nice clean exit down into Bendor and Garlaban. So round Bendor into Garlaban, picking up speed, avoiding that Haas. Now he's just got 2 turns left. He's got lock and point, through lock and into point. Very, very tricky. Very quick change of direction there. And this is looking like it's going to be a very good lap. It's a 128.6. It's good enough for P9, and I thought it was going to be good enough for more. Certainly on the timing board, or for me at least, it looked like it was going to be better, but it's a 128.6. There's definitely pace to be found on that lap, but still not bad from Leors.
Yeah, Leors, not a bad lap there. I noticed that they were downshifting a little bit too much, like trying to get more rotation, but I think it was just costing them overall performance. Now we're looking at Tudor's going to go at 22.1. He's improved on his first sector, but you look at the likes of Jan Valen and some of these other guys a little farther up the road, like F1 Racer, who actually just improved on his lap to a 28.0. They're going to go 21s in the first sector. The lower the better, but at the same time, you know, you really have to go full send here as Hittinen goes all the way up to P2. We do have a couple yellow flags through Sector 2. It looks like Richie B and Tudor are giving each other a little bit of a tow through it, or that are just yielding. But Hittinen splitting Ripson and Failer on his second run. But here comes Failer up behind Hittinen. Hittenen's going to have to get out of the way. That might have upset Failer a little bit. It was a very late, you know, get out of the way for Hittinen there. Let's see if Jan Failer's lost time. He's actually a 10.5 up through Sector 1 as Galaxy goes up into 4th position. Jan Failer, though, he is flying. The German driver looking to extend his lead up at the front. Ripson, meanwhile, a little farther up the road once again. What's his Sector 2 time going to be? He's only improved by 27 thousandths of a second. As of right now, he's not going to even get ahead of Hittinen and put it on the front row. I don't know. Jan Failer looking very, very quick right now. His Sector 2 time, meanwhile, he actually lost time. Interesting. He's only a thousandth of a second up, so I think he's backed out of this lap. Yeah, I think Jan Failer just backed out of his lap there. He must have made a mistake. So no improvement from our current pole sitter. But can Ripson at least get on the front row? We'll have to wait and see.
Definitely, and still a few drivers have yet to put a lap together. Patrick's invalidated quite a few. And of course you have Juka who spun on his. Darn is about to finish his lap. He's coming across the line. He's coming up the straight now on the medium tire, mind you, and he's going to put in a 129.0. So I thought maybe the 28s were going to be there for Darn, but he puts a 129.0 in for his first lap. As it's now only down to Field Racing, Seb, Patrick, and Juka, who have yet to put in a lap. Patrick's the only one on a flying lap of those three, but still really interested to see how these drivers improve their times, because right now, Fizzy, the driver who's improved their time the best between lap 1 and lap 2 is actually Go Tudor. He did a 30.7 on his first lap, and he's got it down to a 29.3, but it's still only good enough for 13th. It's still a very slow lap. As the lead
he did it
is
on
at Galaxy.
mediums, though.
Yes, that's true. That's very true.
So that is interesting. I think in qualifying there's close to a second gap between the mediums and softs. And you can look at Patrick right now. He's flying right now. He's on the medium tire. He does not want to start on the soft tire, which if you don't have the setup, it will wear very, very quickly. Speaking of the medium tire runners, Patrick is going to cross the line, do a 28.4. That puts him in the top 10. He's up in 9th position on the mediums. We'll see if he goes again. I don't know if he's got enough battery life or fuel for another lap, but that's a very, very good lap by Patrick, which if he was on softs, that could have put him on pole. But for the time being, you know, he's trying to go for that medium start. I mean, with the rain coming later on in the race, you know, maybe you can take the mediums to the rain and, you know, be able to, you know, just not stop until then, put on the intermediate tires and be miles ahead of the guys on softs. So there's a lot to play for here. I believe that's Richie B. Yeah, that's Richie B losing the rear end on his in-lap, I believe. So Richie not really improving at the moment. Who else is on a lap? I don't think anyone else. We have a Alpine in Sector 3. That's Kev Genetics, but he's not improving at this time. Hitting it on an out lap. So it looks like, you know, we're waiting for drivers to start their final run.
Absolutely. They don't have a ton of time left, less than 4 minutes left. And we still have two drivers that need to put in a time, Field Racing Seb and Juka. But I'll tell you what, we talked in previous races, Fizzy, about Hittenen's pace and how he's been good at finding pace. It's been the consistency that's been a little bit of an issue. And I'll tell you what, he's less than a 10th behind Jan Fehler, who's sitting on provisional pole right now. It's quite a quick lap from Hittenen here.
Yeah, I mean, if we think back to the past with Hittenen, he's been a little unlucky as well. I mean, race 1 qualifying, crashed out after his wheel disconnected in the fast left-hander right at the end of Sector 2, and nothing you can do about that. Just disconnected from the game. He didn't even have a chance to save it. It just went right into the wall and off. And then he didn't have a good race there. But since then, I mean, Spain wasn't too bad, but he's gotten better and better each week. I mean, last week wasn't his best result, but, you know, he's looked competitive. He looked good. He looked really good in Monaco. And now here in France, the Finnish driver looking to put the foot down, put it on the front row, possibly even pole position, but it's going to be a tall order to knock off Jan Fehler. 2 minutes, 43 seconds left. Oof, man, I think this is about to go off because we have a three-way battle for pole position. And I think it's going to be a very, very exciting last 2.5 minutes.
It is, and the first that's going to cross the line on their flying lap is going to be Minty. He's on a 28.1. He's only a half second back from pole position. Can he improve is the question. He's just coming through the Montreal chicane now. He's going down. I want to watch his Sector 2 time. Is he improving a little bit? He's less than a 10th up on his Sector 2 time. It's just not enough pace. He's got to really nail this final sector here at Paul Ricard. We'll see if he can do just that. Coming flying around the last few turns. And I'll tell you what, the other one who's on their flying lap with a bit of space in front of them is Hittenen. But nonetheless, we'll see if Minty can get it across the line and get it into the 127s. He would love to break the 127s. It would be really, by the looks of it, a very good lap right now. Only 3 drivers have been able to do so. Here he comes up to the line. Is he going to get the time he needs? I don't think he is. I think he's a little bit slower, and he's just broke the 127s. Excuse me. And he's a 127.9. It's good enough for P4.
Good enough for P4, but look at Hittenen. He was purple through Sector 2. He's getting a little squirmy. He's pushing that AlphaTauri to the limits. He was a 10th down, like, or a tenth negative on his time. He's possibly going to steal pole position here, but he's been doing everything he can on this lap. His car's been squirming. He's using all of the track right now and coming out of the final corner. Did he nail the third sector? No, he invalidated coming out of the final corner. That is this and next lap invalidated. It is tears for the Finnish driver who would have put it on provisional pole. Oh, that is heartbreak if you're hitting an absolute heartbreak. He had a chance at stealing pole. He was actually plus 0.055 through the first sector. He found a tenth and a half through the middle and then just invalidated through the final corner. But Minty, meanwhile, you know, he found all of his time in the third sector, which was pretty huge. But now with all these drivers on their final runs right now, you got the likes of KevGenX in the final sector starting his lap. Behind him, I believe that is Darn. A few other guys also getting ready to start their laps. Like that, Leor's actually currently over 3/10 improving, almost 4/10 up on their lap. Behind them, it looks like it's Donut Hole. So we're going to have to keep an eye on these cars as they start their laps. Leor's first one across the line, that's 28-0. That's good enough for P7. The Israeli driver doing the best that they can do so far. Donut Hole crossing the line. Then we have the Haas driver, I believe, Tudor, starting his lap. But here comes Ripson. Ripson out of the final corner. This might be provisional pole. Ripson crosses the line at the 127.4. He's got almost 2/10 on Failer. But what does Failer have as Minty retires in the pits? Failer coming out of the final corner. The checkered flag is out. Does he have an answer to his fellow countryman? He crosses the line. It's a 127.4. He gets provisional pole by 73 thousandths of a second. Jan Failer. Does anyone have an answer? It looks like Juka has invalidated their lap. They will not improve. Next up, I believe, is F1 Racer. He is going to cross the line. What's it going to be for the Ferrari driver? It's third. He does pip Hittinen with a 127.5. We have Hittinen coming into the pits now, and it looks like we have Fuel Racing Seb, who's invalidated his lap. KevGenX, meanwhile, coming out of the final corner, next across the line. Can he improve from his 8th place starting position right now? He goes up into 4th. Another driver to displace the Finnish driver, up into 4th position. Behind him is that Darn. That is Darn. Darn is over half a second improving on his lap on the softs. He will continue. He will not go higher than 12th, however. Now comes the Haas drivers. It looks like Richie B. He's only slightly improving on this lap. Coming out of the final corner, Tudor returns back into the pits, and Richie B will cross the line and will stay 9th position. He gets about a third of a second there, but it's looking like that's most of the session done. Leor's on an in-lap, Ripson on an in-lap, and I think that is your starting grid, Benny.
Yeah, really. I'll tell you what, we were looking at it with about 3.5, minutes to go here, thinking 127s will probably be fast enough, but a lot of drivers finding them in the end. In fact, the top 7 all finding the 127s. And Jan Failer, man, he's just squeaked out Ripson for pole position. Great lap, but I'll tell you what, F1 Racer and KevGenX here, very strong laps from them. And how about Leor's? You know, he said that he wanted to improve in qualifying. He's not really had great qualifying performances in the previous races, but he's got it into the top 10 here at Paul Ricard.
Yeah, great job by the Israeli driver. Probably one of his best qualifying performances of the season. But hats off to Failer taking pole position. I feel bad for him, and he was looking to possibly take provisional pole. His lap, he was pushing everywhere, went ahead and invalidated it in the end. And as a result, he went from possibly taking provisional pole all the way down to 5th. So the Finnish driver's going to have it all to do for. But here's the thing, Patrick in the top 10 on mediums. Now, everyone behind him, I would not be surprised to see them start on mediums as well. So, top 9, all committed to the soft rubber. Everyone else on the mediums. Interestingly enough, Juka and Seb both did not set times. Now, I don't believe there was no quality bans to serve today. But a lot of stuff, a lot of tactics going on. We have 16 cars, 9 of them on the soft, 7 on the mediums. If it rains a little bit earlier, I would not be surprised to see the medium runners, making it to the rain and possibly displacing this top 9 here. But one last time, it is Jan Failer on pole, Ripson alongside him. It's actually a German, 1 through 4, and 5 out of the top 6 are all Germans, so an absolute dominant performance by them, with F1 Racer 3rd, KevGenX 4th, Hittinen in 5th, and Galaxy in 6th. Minty did come home in 7th, Leor's in 8th, Richie B in 9th, and then rounding out the top 10 is the Polish driver of Patrick. So it's going to be a very fun and exciting race, and don't forget, Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, SIMSOK, and Driver 61. Be sure to check them out on their respective websites and use some of the resources that they have provided, as they have some very, very great products. Now, who do you think is going to have the lead going to turn 1? Do we think Failure gets an absolute rocket of a launch, or do we think that Ripson might take it away?
It's going to be tough. I mean, either driver is really going to be burning most of their battery on that lap, I think, down in the turn run. But I'd like the line from the pole position being on the clean side of the track. Take a nice wide entry in the turn 1. I think even if they have to, surrender, if they're side by side and it looks like, that second place is going to have that kind of edge coming out of turn 1, I think it can easily be made up in turn number 2. So I kind of like Jan. I think Jan's going to be able to keep it clean and get it off the line and remain in P1 after, all is said and done of the first turn.
Yeah, I do like what we're going to see today. I'm going to quickly go brew some coffee because my throat just started hurting me a little bit there towards the end while we're loading in. I'll let you go ahead and talk it out. One last thing I want to note, and I'll let you, thinking about it amongst yourselves, the DRS around here is probably worth about 4 to 5 tenths down the back straight alone. So I think we're going to see a lot of ERS burning, in the first few laps, because holding DRS, especially if you're on an alternate tire, I think that's going to be huge today.
I think it's going to be huge today as well, but yeah, I think it's really a track that tends to lead itself to a lot of overtakes. I believe there's 3 different DRS zones, so a lot of opportunity for drivers to nail that overtake. Of course, coming both in and out of the Montreal chicane and then also down the main straight. So really a lot of opportunities for overtaking. Interesting that some of these times that we saw, Rivershawn, by the way, he's starting 11th, right? And he did 1 lap in the qualifying. So formation lap underway. We'll see how they do. Patrick's the same way. He got in the top 10 on the mediums. He only ran 1 lap in qualifying, or he only at least stuck 1 time in qualifying. Most of his laps were invalidated, but one that wasn't, he got a 28.4 on those mediums. So not to write him off, certainly. But I'm interested to see how the drivers do line up with their tires. We've actually had 3 in Rivershawn, Donut, and Tudor decide to go on to the hard compound tire. And everybody else below the top 10 on mediums. That's Darn, Seb, and Juke. Patrick, like you said, qualified on the mediums. Everybody else above him is on softs. So, interestingly enough, a few drivers decided to go for the hards. I don't really think the hards are very good around here. I think, there's just not enough grip in them for what they need to do in the top, or in the kind of high-speed corners. So, interesting that we do see drivers electing to use the hard compound tire.
I think, Benny, now that I'm back as my coffee brews, I think that some of these guys, they might not like their tire wear, because like we were talking about pre-race, is that the tire wear around here, it is a little bit extreme, especially if the rain's coming really late in the race. You might just try to juice those tires as long as possible. You're not going to get that out of the softs. You're certainly not going to get them out of the softs. You probably won't get them out the mediums based on when the rain comes. So those guys on the hards may, they may have pulled a strategic master stroke, or they just don't get the tire life that they're looking for. Actually, now that I'm looking at Jan Fehler's helmet, it's just the same exact color as his car. That's actually kind of cool. Kind of blends in right there. That's actually a really cool helmet designed by him. I got to tip my hat. But I do think that because of that rain at the end that they know, and it's the uncertainty about when it comes, is going to dictate the tire strategy today.
That's true. That's a very good point. We don't know as commentators when the rain is coming, but they will. They will have a good guess as to when. So maybe the hards are there to try and run out a long opening stint until the rain arrives and go right over to the inters, 1 stop. So not a bad strategy from the back. You can kind of make it work, but it'll be interesting to see how they do, or even if the mediums can hold up until the rain comes. We'll see, but lights about to go out.
Lights are about to go out indeed. The lights are on. We got 4 lights, 5 lights. And away we go. It's a good start by Jan, but Ripson is right there. The Alfa Romeo driver already tucking in by toe. They're going double file in the background. Ripson trying to go around the outside. Turn number 1, but Fehler covers the apex, and it has the lead. Ripson, though, looking very racy there. F1 Racer, though, in 3rd place is right behind Ripson, so Ripson's got to be very careful. Kev Genetics in 4th, but he's side by side with Hittinen, though. We have a yellow flag. That's one of the Haas's. That's Tudor who's round. That is very unfortunate for the hard tire runner. And there you can see now Kev Genetics going side by side with Hitton. They've been side by side this whole first sector. And it looks like Kev's going to win out this battle right now. But he's got Minty right behind Hitton. And now it's going to be an ERS burn down the back straight. Huge battle here for fourth position. Hitton going to go switch to the right-hand side. Juka has hit the wall. That is huge. We're going to go ahead. He lost the rear end coming out the back straight. That's a virtual safety car that will freeze the field. And Juka has already crashed into the wall, unfortunately. Yeah, that was interesting. I think Tudor had a huge moment. He might have actually reset the track. He actually... Oh, he might be having wheel issues because he just completely dead stopped from going full speed on the back straight. So Tudor might be having some connectivity issues and equipment issues. That is very heartbreaking. But the virtual safety car is out and will go racing once again. But Failure maintaining the lead here on lap 1.
Very hard to hit the wall around here, and somehow Juka has found it. So virtual safety car. Ooh, the AlphaTauri of Hitman, by the way, under the virtual safety car. Just ran into the back of Kev Genetics, and he's lost an end plate.
That is huge, yeah.
I don't know what happened as well, because the Mercedes, he's dived, or the AlphaTauri, I should say, has dived into the pits. So these softs are certainly going to come off. I don't expect them to last. I'm interested to see what tire he goes onto. But meanwhile, we are back racing, my friends. It is all back and underway, and Jan Fehler got a great jump. He's 2.3 up on Ripson already.
That is absolutely crazy. We do have another spin, though. Galaxy has lost it coming out of turn number 2. Turn number 2, that's the second victim in as many laps. Galaxy is around. Tudor also into the pits for, it looks like, another set of, he's going onto a set of mediums. So his day has gone from bad to worse, but also Galaxy with the spin being caught up. And now Failure just got an absolutely muddy launch. I don't know if that was Ripson going back behind, but I know from experience there is a glitch under the virtual safety car that gives people different deltas. I myself had that in the Americas race. I had a delta that said I was negative 1.5 green, while the car in front of me was only 0.5 green. But we were the same gap as where we were beforehand, and he went 0 when I had a second left, and so that could have very much have happened, and could be why Failure got the good launch, or Failure could have just got Ripson napping. Who knows? But Failure is 2.5 ahead and flying.
Well, you talk about Tudor's bad day. It's gone from bad to worse. He's got a penalty for speeding in the pit lane as well, so he just can't catch a break this race, Tudor, unfortunately. Nonetheless, it is F1 racer who's trying to keep pins.
Another spinner.
We do. Who is it? It
Seb.
is Seb. Well, he struggled to get a time on the board. He didn't actually post the time on the board, and now he's spun. So he's down in the 13th position off the back of that.
Yeah, Seb really struggling. He's good. Looking like he's just really struggling. He's actually just completely cut the final few corners. I don't know what Seb's doing there. But yeah, so France already catching out a lot of our Tier 1 drivers, probably more so than the last 2 tracks, surprisingly enough. But very unfortunate to see. Apparently, according to the chat, Ripson's delta was bugged. It was at 2 seconds green, and then all of a sudden it went to 0, so he had to slow up. And so that is why there is that huge gap that we're seeing up at the front. So Ripson's going to have to somehow get back into DRS range. It's not an easy order to do. Lap 3, though, I believe the DRS is active. It is. You can see F1 Racer with his wing wide open, and he is flying right now. A little back, though. Darn, making the move stick on Donut Hole, the medium tire runner, passing the hard runner. Speaking of the alternate strategy, Patrick's up into 7th behind Richie B. He's cleared Leors, and he's looking in a really good spot. He's in DRS range. Tudor, again, is round, so I think he's having some troubles here today. Not sure if he just didn't practice or whatnot, but he is absolutely, hating life right now. But looking back up towards the front, Ripson has got F1 Racer for company. Racer's probably just going to battery save at this point, He's got the DRS on Ripson by a margin. All he's got to do is, stay within close, and he'll get so much time down the back straight. Kev Genetics, though, into 4th position. Let's actually look at some of these tire changes, or not tire changes, excuse me. Look at some of the position changes. I just switched past it, of course. Top 4 holding position. Minty up 2, Richie B and Patrick also up 3. So some of these guys benefiting from everyone else spinning around them.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you what, he's trying to benefit from the glitch that Ripson had, and that's F1 Racer. He has got DRS. He had it down the main straight. He got within 2/10, but he couldn't make the move. There just wasn't enough. So if you keep it pinned to the back of this Alfa Romeo, there will be an opportunity going into the Montreal chicane as they pass the detection zone right now. So there's going to be a big opportunity going down here towards this chicane to get past Ripson. The DRS is open. F1 Racer going flying down. We'll see if he has enough track. No, he just doesn't have enough, so he's just going to get within 3/10, but he's going to have to back off there. Just not enough track for him to get the overtake done, at least yet.
I don't think he's trying to make the overtake. If you look at his ERS, he's got like almost a full battery. Excuse me, he's got 58. But Ripson up ahead has a similar amount. It looked like he had more. I think he used a lot of overtake there, but he might be running a higher downforce setup. Because look how much he's gaining through some of these like slower sections. Yeah, look how much he just gained it through turn at number 11 there. He gained a lot of time, but then down, he didn't really gain as much as you expect down the DRS straight. So F1 Racer, you know, he's getting pulled along, but he's not gaining as much as what we would expect from someone running a lower downforce setup. Now, meanwhile, Patrick absolutely pushing Richie B through some of these corners now. He's looking to possibly make a move coming out of turn number 15, trying to get the power down early enough. He's just right on the gearbox of Richie, but Richie's got a good enough exit and has the DRS to defend, so Patrick not able to take another position to his name, but he's pushing Richie B. He's like getting all the way on the back of the Dutch driver, who is not too far behind Minty. So Minty, a little bit of a roadblock, it looks like, for these two guys, where Richie not really able to overtake him, and Patrick probably getting a little frustrated as the mediums start to come on pace with these soft tires that are probably wearing a lot more than what the drivers want.
Absolutely, Patrick itching to get around this Haas of Goat Richie. And you mentioned that they, you know, with at least with F1 Racer and Ripson, that he's not using. Oh, here's the move finally. He's going for it. Back to that thought. Is that Richie that's going around Minty actually? And oh, driver looks like he's run wide. Is that? Oh no, my eyes are deceiving me. I beg your pardon. But Minty's got a 3-second time penalty for no. That was a driver that ran wide. It was Minty.
Yeah.
And he got a second for corner cutting. A penalty for corner cutting.
He could probably get that removed or at least changed to a warning. It looked like it was an instant penalty there. He locked up. He went too deep. He wasn't going to make that ensuing corner. So not only did he back out of it, you know, to avoid possibly coming together with Patrick, he also let Patrick through on exit. He didn't try to use it to an advantage, so I'm sure he can get that changed to a warning. That's for sure. Unless that was a warning, he just had it. Oh, Failer sped into the pits. Failer's in for a very early pit stop, and he sped into the pit lane. So that's going to absolutely help a lot. If you're Ripson, Failer won't serve that on this pit stop. He'll have that to his name. If there's a safety car, he's really in a bad position. But yeah, that is huge right now. He sped into the pits. Minty, meanwhile, has that 3-second time penalty. This will open up a little bit for Ripson and Racer, because they will know that they will just need to stay within 5 seconds of Failer. And, you know, they're going to go a little bit longer on the softs, try to go for the overcut. But now you can see Richie B up in the net third position, but that's going to unleash Patrick now. There's actually a huge train behind Richie B that developed behind Minty. As Patrick, he's surely going to get the move now down the back straight. As you can just see, yeah, he's got the overspeed. He's got the DRS wide open. He's got the overtake. And Patrick's going to swoop to the left-hand side of the track, and the Polish driver is through and up into third position on the medium compound tire. Now, he's the biggest threat to Jan Failer, Ripson, F1 Racer, and everyone else who started on the softs, because if he can make it to the rain that we have predicted to come, all those guys are, you know, in a horrible spot. But in the background, though, Leor's right behind Darn, though. Leor is looking very racy. You can see the sparks flying from underneath the Williams driver up ahead, but the Alfa Romeo driver not able to make the move into turn 11.
No, Darn had just taken that position off of him, and now he's trying to push to close the gap to Minty, because he needs the DRS to defend against Leor's, who's definitely going to come at him to get the position back. So Darn has cut down within a second as F1 Racer has overtaken. Oh, I'm sorry, it's because of the pit. So F1 Racer's in the pit. So same with Patrick. So a lot of the early leaders are taking a pit as Minty takes a penalty as well for speeding in the pit lane.
Yeah, that is huge. Another driver to fall victim to the pit lane entry. That is horrible. But Ripson now on his own. Patrick P2, Darn, not too far behind his teammate. Probably hoping that, hey, Patrick, you want to slow up a little bit so we have DRS? Those two Williams drivers looking mighty quick right now on that reverse strategy. Donut Hole and River Shot not doing too bad. Let's not forget about them. They are on the hards, and they have not pitted yet. So they're looking in a pretty good spot. Now, Seb had his spin, but he's still 3.5 seconds clear of Failer. So he's looking good. Now look where F1 Racer came out. He's 4 seconds behind Failer. He's on a lap fresher tires. So you can see how powerful that undercut is. He'll surely come out ahead, or surely will be ahead of Ripson, unless Ripson absolutely flies on this in-lap. Kev Genetics, meanwhile, just out of DRS range, though, as Rivershawn is through on the McLaren of Donut Hole. after the DRS straight. So a lot of movers right now, a lot of things going on. We got 2 drivers started on the softs who have not pitted yet, and they're looking to make inroads as we speak. But right now, Jan Fehler in the net race lead, but Ripson in the actual race lead. But we'll have to wait and see as the strategy looks out. I'm not seeing any clouds in the sky. Are you, Benny?
Not as of yet. Still sunny in France right now. So maybe the rain is another good 5 to 10 laps off. And I'll tell you what, Ripson's in the pits. Ripson's dove into the pits. I was going to say Patrick is going to be loving life. He's got to keep pace. He doesn't want to slow first teammate because he wanted to keep pace with Ripson. But it is Ripson into the pits. Patrick has taken the race lead. His teammates right behind him in second as well. Or is that, I'm sorry, that is. That
is. They're both Williams.
Yeah, that is. As, yeah, Patrick now has to push on these mediums.
Yeah. Another thing to note is that Liors could not pit there because his teammate pitted, and so he didn't want to double stack there. As Ripson comes out of the pits, he's going to feed out behind F1 Racer, but still ahead of Kev. So that is huge if you're Ripson. You just need to push a little bit here. He's just out of DRS range, but he needs to just get back in it. He's ahead of Kev Genetics as Liors picks up a time penalty. And so that's crucial for him to stay within the DRS of F1 Racer. And so they can hopefully try to stay within 5 seconds of failure. They're currently, Ripson is just beyond that, or just around that like 5-second mark behind failure. But F1 Racer has not lost time at all to the McLaren driver now. That is huge. Meanwhile, looks like Donut Hole had a little bit of an off coming out of turn number 9. It was a little bit off track there. He's trying to get around, back around on Rivershawn, who overtook him on the previous lap down the back straight. Both drivers out of battery already on lap 8, and they're on the hard, so they're trying to go long. So that might hurt their progress in defending against the hard charging guys on those fresh mediums.
Yeah, you know, we talked about Rivershawn wanting to stay ahead or at least close to the guys in front. And then the guys in front pitted, so that DRS is going to be very, very powerful for Donut Holes, with or without battery for both of these drivers. And really, with both of them depleted, there's not much the Mercedes is going to be able to do to defend against it. Your DRS flies open. We'll see if the move gets done here down the straight. Donut Hole is closing in. He's cut it by a 10th, but there's just not enough track. It looks like it's the Mercedes to stay in front, but pinned to that gearbox is Donut Hole. We'll see if he can have a go at him going down towards the Montreal chicane, but he's got to keep it close as F1 Racer now goes to purple with a 31-1.
Yeah, he's kept Ripson out of DRS, and he's closed a little bit more on failure. He's got 1 lap fresher tires, which could pay dividends later on. I think Donut Hole might just get Rivershawn here. Liors, interestingly enough, did not pit that time around. He's not lost any time to the cars behind, but he's lost almost a second through the first sector alone on the Williams pair up ahead. So maybe going a little bit too long. Ooh, Donut Hole making a move off the track there. That certainly is probably an illegal overtake. He went off circuit to make that move rather than going up the inside, so I'm sure Rivershawn's not too happy about that. Donut Hole did get a penalty, though, for exceeding track limits, but if you're Rivershawn, you're probably not too thrilled about the McLaren driver going off circuit when there's plenty of track on the left-hand side. And there you can see Rivershawn trying to go around the outside into turn 11. They're side by side around the outside of turn 11. It's not really going to work, though, because there's just nowhere to really go there. But does Rivershawn go for a move into turn number 12? No, he does not. And there's Liors really struggling on those worn soft tires, probably staying a little bit too long on them. Is he certainly going to dive into the pits now? Yes, he is. And he is the last one to pit off the softs now. I do have to say, my track map does not have these corner names, so I do apologize that I'm not able to do what you're able to do, Benny, but I will say the Montreal chicane in the back. Is there any other big names I should know about on track?
The final 2, I guess, Lac and Pont. So, you know, those 2 are always going to be what you want to watch for, because the DRS zone is right, you know, at the end of at the end of Pont. So we're turn 15, whatever you want to say. So, you know, I'll try to slip them in there for you throughout the race. But I'll tell you what, you are right. If you're Rivershawn, you cannot be happy about how Donut Hole overtook you. Remember, Donut Hole. I hate to bring this kind of stuff up, but I think it is relevant to the conversation. He already has 2 penalty points this season, so definitely needs to find a little bit of a cleaner line here through these races, especially if we expect that to be reviewed by the stewards afterwards, which it probably will be. As Jan Fehler has overtaken Field Racing Seb. He's up in the 5th position now.
That's a very beautiful DRS overtake down the back straight, easy as you'd like. He sees that F1 race was coming. Him and Racer have been trading fastest laps, and so he knows that his fellow countryman is trying to run him down in the Ferrari, and he's just trying to hold him back. But Ripson did just get DRS on F1 Racer, and it looks like it's here to stay. So that is definitely a new development. We'll have to keep an eye on Ripson's progress. But Failer's still 4.3 behind Rivershawn and at Donut Hole, and Donut Hole's already 5.2 behind Darn and Patrick. So those guys up front hoping that their medium tires can last through the uncertain rain. But even if they do have to pit for softs and it rains like on the last couple laps, they're going to have the superior grip on those soft tires because they're always just going to be faster in the slightly wet conditions around here. Ripson does a 30.9. The airborne driver is on the move. Look out, Benny. Here he comes.
Oh, absolutely flying. He's going to have DRS on F1 Racer as well. But I'll tell you who's got to be loving life right now, and that's Patrick at the top. Donut Hole still not pitted. There's a yellow flag in Sector 3. It looks like it's Tudor. But nonetheless, you know, Donut Hole, that gap between him and Darn is ever increasing. Rivershawn can't find a way past him again. So it is good. He's just absolutely increasing the gap for Patrick towards the back of the field here, or even the middle part of the field. So if Jan is got to play catch up here and he gets held up by either of these two, it's going to just play into Patrick's hands. We've already had quite a few different race winners this season, Fizzy. We've had, I want to say three. No, I want to say three. Yeah, we've had three. And are we on store for a fourth if this continues?
I mean, the clouds all of a sudden just rolled in. You can see how much darker it is on the screen. So clouds are coming. Let's actually ride on board with the current race leader, Patrick, coming out of the final corner. Yeah, there's a lot of clouds. They just rolled in. The sky looks definitely darker. We don't have an ETA, of course, on the rain. We can't just ask our race engineer. But I'm sure all these drivers are about to start asking their race engineer, how long till the rain? How long do I have to go? If you're Patrick and Darn, you're 1-2 in the Williams. You want to keep it that way. So you definitely want it to go wet, you know, sooner rather than later. But I think the issue with Donut Hole and Rivershawn, both drivers burned their battery to keep up with some of the guys on softs, which wasn't bad at the time, but they don't have enough battery now to keep up, or at least, you know, not lose time or anything really to the Williams pair up ahead. And they're obviously at a tire disadvantage for the next few laps until the mediums start to fall off. So, you know, there's not much they can do. I mean, they still have 2.3 to Failer, and I doubt Donut Hole fights Failer too hard considering they are teammates. But, you know, they're also hoping for that sooner rain because, you know, they are currently sitting, I mean, Rivershawn's sitting in a net podium position as Ripson overtakes F1 Racer going into the Montreal chicane. Now he's up to P7 now. But yeah, you have to account for these time penalties actually. As if you look at them right now, we've got 3 seconds to Donut Hole, 5 to Failer due to speeding into the pits, and 6 for Seb. So if you're Ripson and Racer, you're given 2 free positions there. If you're Kev Genetics, you need to pick it up a little bit to catch back up. But the field's starting to spread out a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. The field is starting to spread out quite a bit. F1 Racer trying to keep it close to Ripson. Tudor, oh man, his day is just, it's a race to forget. And nonetheless, like you said, there's not a lot of drivers within DRS range of each other. F1 Racer is on Ripson just because Ripson just did the overtake in the previous lap. And then, of course, Rivershawn has been within DRS pretty much this entire time of Donut Hole. He just cannot get by for love nor money. As nonetheless, he's not going to be too bothered. Donut Hole does have the 3-second time penalty and potentially more additional coming. But nonetheless, I mean, it's holding up Rivershawn from even having to go at Darn. Granted, Rivershawn is on the hard tires. Darn and Patrick are on the mediums ahead of them. But nonetheless, everyone kind of nestling in. Ripson, though, has cut that gap down to Field Racing Seb. He is within a second now. He wants to get by Field Racing Seb because Jan and Ripson are trying to get further up the field. But the rain is definitely coming. You're right about it getting dark, and it's been dark for a while. I haven't seen it start to fall yet, and the question is, how heavy will it fall, and how long will it take the track to go from a state where dries are the fastest tire to where the intermediates are required?
Well, let's put it this way. I was doing a practice session. As there goes Rivershawn. He's getting overtaken by Failer, not really putting up too much of a fight there, as Failer gets him easy as you'd like. Not sure if Rivershawn really made much of a mistake there, as he lost a little bit of time to Donut Hole as well, so I would assume that was it, as there was still a little bit of a gap there. But one thing I noted from a practice session I did, it was completely dry, and then in 20 seconds, 30 seconds later, It was wet, and here comes the rain. You can see it on the screen, folks. We saw the first drops of rain. There you can see it a little bit more. Here it comes. Question is, will these guys who haven't crossed the pit entry yet, are they going to dive in immediately, or do they stay out longer? How long does the rain stay out? Or how long do these guys stay out before it is time for intermediates? I do expect to change really, really quickly. But if you're Patrick and you're Darn, you got to be cheering in your cockpits right now. We're halfway through the race. The intermediates should last to the end from this point. And the Williams pair, they got almost 7 seconds to the nearest rival. And that's just from Darn back to Donut Hole. Patrick's 1.7 ahead. This is huge for the Williams pair. This is also huge for Donut Hole, Rivershan, and Seb, all on the reverse strategy.
Absolutely. This is massive for the drivers in front. Taylor's done well to really cut the gap. He's trying to pressure Donut Hole, and he's shed really Rivershan a bit. Rivershan's got the DRS, but he's just not been able to keep up with the McLaren of Jan.
Ripson almost completely lost the rear end on the straight. He hit the one curb, and he almost went spinning off. Beautiful handiwork there to keep it straight. Oh, but Field Racing Seb is round. He's lost his wing on the exit turn 9. The rain is definitely too heady for dries, and here comes F1 Racer trying to go up the inside. We have a virtual safety car due to the debris caused by Seb's spin. This should allow everyone to have a nice and safe pit stop. We also have Tudor, who I think spun at the same time. He's still on the dries, unfortunately, but Kev Genetics threw on his teammate. Seb was sitting in a prime position there and then just completely lost it on those old mediums. He's got no front wing and certainly no grip. As there come the Williams into the pits, they're going to double stack now. So they're going to hope that the team works him a treat. But here's the thing, though. Jan Fehler stayed out. That's very interesting. Some of these guys pitting on intermediates now. DRS, I believe, is still enabled. Is it wet enough for inners?
Jan didn't have a choice. Donut went in first. I don't know if there was communication issue there, or if Jan really knew that Donut Hole was going to go out. But Jan didn't have a choice. He would have the double stack as well. So the Williams double stack, it's cost.
I don't know though. Look at some of these other guys. They stayed out. Ripson, Racer, Patrick, all these guys staying out on track. You look at the tire compounds. Patrick did not. He's on inners. Richie B still out on track. Minty still on track. A lot of these guys still on the dries. Donut Hole, though, just got a drive-through penalty. That is huge. We do have a yellow flag in Sector 1. I believe that was Ripson, who might have been around. That was Leors. That's Leors who had spun around. He's struggling for grip. I think pitting under the VSC was the move. We're going to have to keep an eye on Fehler, Ripson, and Racer. But Patrick in prime position. He's only 4-some seconds behind F1 Racer. You got a free 10 seconds from pitting under the VSC and coming out just fine. I think this is now Patrick's race to lose. Darn looking at possibly taking an easy P2 as you'd like. Hittinen is up in the 7th, but he's still on the medium rubber. But let's keep an eye on Donut Hole right now. He has the drive-through penalty, unfortunately, but he's behind Minty. So let's see just how much more grip. The track is really looking wet. We haven't seen the DRS get disabled, though. But, yeah, look at the grip that Donut Hole has compared to Minty and Hittinen. This track is certainly better for intermediates right now.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is, too, a lot of these drivers that didn't pit, their teammates were in the pit, so they didn't want a double stack. I think that's why a lot of them decided to stay out, and that was the wrong decision because, yes, the double pit cost Patrick's teammate quite a bit of time. But, I mean, the track is just looking way too wet for dry tires right now. And just like that, Baylor, Ripson, F1 Racer, they're all in the pit. You've got to expect that Goat Richie's going to follow. He does. And there is a yellow flag in Sector 3. Oh, I think it's Leors that's around.
It is Leors. Patrick retakes the race lead. Now, here's the thing. Fehler is serving his 5-second time penalty in the pits. Will he come out ahead of Ripson and F1 Racer, or will he come up behind? Ripson is miles up the road. In comparison, it shows him still on medium tires. Did he have a drive-through penalty?
He's in the pit. Ripson's in the pit.
No, he's leaving the pits right now. He didn't change tires. Did he have a drive-through penalty?
I believe he had a penalty for corner cutting.
I don't know. He's still on mediums on my screen. But Fehler, interestingly, came out behind Kev Genetics and ahead of F1 Racer, but Ripson looks like he's on mediums still. Yeah, Ripson's still on mediums. He might have had a drive-through penalty for some reason. Or not for some reason, but maybe speeding under the safety car that we might have missed. But that is just, that is just horrible. Yeah, he's on the mediums. Ripson's race has been ruined. He had, I guess, a drive-through penalty. He wasn't able to pit onto inners, and now, as a result, Ripson's going to drop down the order. He's going to have to pit at the end of this lap. Tudor, meanwhile, off the track on medium still. I don't know what he's doing back there. but the medium tires are certainly not the better tire right now. That is very unfortunate for some of these guys. But now KevGenX rounding in 3rd position. Failer seeing his championship rival struggling out there, trying to take 3rd position. He will get it based off of penalties. But look at the gap between Kev and Darn from pitting under the VSC and not pitting under the VSC. 13.2 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big gap. And Jan here is going to be without DRS, mind you. So Kev is going to have to try and do everything he can to stay in front. We'll see if he puts up a tough fight, because Patrick would love for him to hold Jan up some more. Only about 11 laps left. It'll be 10 once the leader goes by again. Trying to dive on the inside is Jan. Is he going to get it coming out of the turn? The Alpine's still in front. Does he get a better run off the line? Yes. And Kev just by inches remains in front, but it's brought F1 Racer into the mix. Look at it. He is really on the tail of Jan Failer, and he's had a lot of speed, even in the qualifying, so you can't write him off either. He's been a very quick car, but KevGenX just keeping it to the front here of these three. And Patrick is begging for them to continue fighting.
Yeah, so Ripson, it has been confirmed in the chat as Kev goes wide that he did have a drive-through penalty for speeding onto the virtual safety car. We're getting a lot of penalties coming in through, so we're going to go ahead and switch over to that graphic. As Failer really struggling behind Kev, not able to find a way around. But let's go on board with F1 Racer. He's got a lot of grip. He's also got a lot of battery to use, but you know, he's in a 3-car train and he's the 3rd car, so it's not going to be the easy overtake for Failer. Excuse me, on Failer that he would like. But Racer, look at these guys. They're losing time hand over fist to Darn and Patrick. Patrick or Darn at this rate, probably Darn would make more sense than Patrick, considering Patrick's in the lead. But Darn at this rate could probably pit onto another set of inners at the end of the race. And, well, actually, he won't get fastest lap, so it doesn't really matter. So, yeah, no, ignore what I'm saying. Williams 1-2. It's a fantastic strategy call by the pair of them. And they're looking to run away with this race victory. Also, look at this. Richie B in 6th place. He got a 3-second time penalty, but the guys behind also have penalties. So, some, pretty good job for the Dutch driver. Looking to have his best result of the season. A much better result than Baku and Monaco, to say the least, but not as good as a result as the pair in the lead right now. Man, that was a beautiful masterstroke by the Williams drivers. The rain came at the perfect time. Their mediums still had juice in them, and they benefited from pinning under the virtual safety car. Everything has worked perfectly into their hands. Patrick did just pick up a 3-second time penalty, though, so he's got to be careful there. But there goes Jan Failer into turn number 1. He has the move on KevGenX, and he's going to do his best to try to reel in Darn, but 15 seconds is a huge gap to have to make up.
Yeah, 15 seconds, and he's only got, 9 laps with which to complete it. So he's going to need to really catch him at over a second a lap, about a second and a half a lap, really, just to get up into 2nd place. So I think Jan Failer, as superb as a driver as he has been, is KevGenX almost lost the rear end there a little bit. He ran wide. But as superb a driver as Jan has been, I think the race victory is a little bit out of reach. Although that penalty, remember.
Round! Richie B's round! He's off the track completely. Lost it onto the back straight. Luckily, he did not hit a barrier because there was none to hit. But he completely lost the rear end coming onto the back straight out of turn 7. He's going to retain 7th position. He's going to be behind Donut Hole. But that was a huge spin. Luckily, there was an opening in the track, so he kept it out of the wall. But now he's fallen into the huge train of Galaxy, Rivershed, and Hittinen, and Seb. And if you look at Rivershed and Hittinen, they don't have penalties, so they're going to benefit off of Richie's spin as well. And Donut Hole, who has 6 seconds penalties, also is going to fall victim to Rivershed and Hittinen. So they're going to get a few places out of this. But, yeah, huge spin there. And now, looking back up towards the front, Failer's got almost a second on Darn this time around. He's looking really quick, but I do have to agree with you. I think the gap is just too big to get into the top 2. But, hey, he's currently sitting in 3rd, and his main championship rival is all the way down in 13th out of the points.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so huge for Jan. But again, a long way to go. Meanwhile, through all of that, through Rucci losing the back end, F1 Racer did get around KevGenX, as it looks like Rivershed has managed to make the move stick on Hittinen. They're going side by side down the straight. Look at this. This is for 9th place, and it's just Rivershed maintaining the lead. He can't really run it too wide because the rear tires are still there. They go very close down into turn 1, very close in turn 2, almost pinching him out. But the AlphaTauri, there's a little bit of a wiggle there from the Mercedes. It lets the Alpine through as well. And a little bit of a disaster for Rivershed. He's now out of the points. Was there contact? It looked like there might have been. We'll see if that goes to the stewards. Certainly looks like just hard racing from the both of them, but hitting it will will move into ninth as Tudor gets a time penalty. That's nothing to worry about. He's in last place, 53 seconds off the pace, but nonetheless, yeah, Rivershaw now falling out of the points.
He does have no time penalty, though. I think he just, got a little bit too much curb. I think plenty of space was left between the two drivers. That was definitely hard racing, and he just lost it a little bit on throttle, and as a result, he's out of it temporarily. But, you got the penalties to the likes of Seb, Galaxy, and Richie up ahead. So I wouldn't be too concerned about them. We have Yellflag in Sector 3. That is just Tudor once again struggling for all get out. Jan Fehler, meanwhile, he might have heard what we were saying. He's got over another second on this lap on Darn, so he's pushing. He's doing everything he can. So he's just hoping that there's a mistake from a driver up ahead. Well, let's keep an eye on the battle here brewing between Richie and Galaxy, as Tudor has retired from the session. No surprise there. His race never went well. Hittinen, meanwhile, trying to catch back up to Galaxy after making the move on Rivershan. So a lot of things going on right here. A lot of drivers really struggling around this track in general, not just the wet, struggling in the dry as well. I think we're a little bit surprised. Maybe some of these guys didn't do as much practice as we thought they would, but nevertheless, Patrick leading the way, followed by Darn. The Williams pair clearly practiced and had an idea of what strategy call to do, and they have absolutely nailed it here today in Le Castellet.
Absolutely, and Patrick, here's the thing, Darn is starting to really try to cut down Patrick lead. This was like a 1.7 gap taking out the penalty in consideration. Now it's just 1.2, so Darn is starting to catch Patrick a little bit. The Williams has got to push here. Remember, these inters, yes, they can make it to the end, but they are going to be quite old when they get there. They're going to be quite worn. They don't have, necessarily spectacular life, the intermediate tires, so really, you figured they're already, 5 laps old for most of the field? 4 or 5 laps old for most of the field. And you're asking to do another 7 to 8 on them, so they're going to be just really approaching a graining stage where they start to fall off of it. And that's going to be a big concern for Patrick. But nonetheless, he's still out in front. He's got to push to keep the gap at 3 seconds. He's doing well so far, but still over to 8th and Galaxy trying to get past Goat Richie.
Yeah, Richie really, he's struggling ever since that spin. I think he took out, probably got definitely a lot more wear on those tires from the spin, maybe even a little bit of flat spotting per se, because he's been losing time to donut hole as well. He needs to get within 3 seconds to gain a position off of the McLaren driver up ahead, but he's not really doing that. And instead, he's kind of just been leading this train along, though. It's very hard to overtake in the rain, as you can see around here. I mean, yeah, you can burn a lot of battery, but Paul Ricard is just, it's a weird track. It's a lot higher speeds. There's not as many heavy braking zones. There's not as much of an opportunity to gain back battery. I mean, yeah, Sector 3 for sure, but, you're still going to want to need your straight line speed. You're going to want to burn it everywhere so you don't fall victim to the car behind. And, it's definitely made it a little tricky for some of these guys. And, yeah, I mean, the nature of the track is really different on this game, because I know some of the setups, if you look at it in time trial per se, they got a higher front wing, so it's a very oversteer. They try to go as oversteery as possible, and you can see some of these guys, it's just too oversteery for them to handle, and it's just the nature of how the game is in. Now, we do know that there will be a performance patch eventually, so curious to see how that affects the cars, but around this track, I mean, with how it is right now, these guys have really struggled for the most part, and it's definitely surprising to see. But we still have 6 laps and a straight to go as Patrick crosses the line once again. And all it is to play for. Darn, I think Patrick just had a really good lap there, because Darn was under 5 seconds, and now he's 5.4 behind, and Darn hasn't really lost time to failures. So Patrick still stretching his advantage, and Fehler a little bit out of juice there in 3rd position.
Yeah, and Ripson having trouble closing the gap as well to Minty, so it's only 9.7. So like you said, Jan not in the race lead, but still able to pick up huge points, or at least on par to pick up huge points over his nearest championship rival, Ripson, today, who was looking like he may not score as this train from 8th place down continues on. It's the closest train we've got. Jan has been cutting time, but it's not quite enough. 6 laps to go. It needs to be 2 seconds a lap now from him, and now just trying to keep it ahead of F1 Racer for that podium, as the gaps have kind of opened up all across the top 7. As Galaxy Racer a little loose coming out of the turn, I believe that is 6. But still, you know, trying to get around. He would love to get around on track. Go Richie.
Yeah, he would for sure. Because that is 4 position. Galaxy and Richie, that is 4 position, with both of them having 3 seconds of time penalties. Richie actually is closing up a little bit on Donut Hole, but not enough to really make a dent. Hitting in, meanwhile, you know, he had a bad start. You know, he lost part of his end plate and some of his wing on lap 1. He's rebounded very nicely. He's up in 9th. Net 7th position, almost 6. He will benefit off of the gap to Donut Hole right now. By the looks of it, I think he's just under 6 seconds behind him. So he would jump up all the way up to 6th place. That's a very good recovery drive for the finished driver with that lap 1 wing change. So good job to him for that recovery. I don't think he'll get much more without a little bit of help, that's for sure. But still, spectacular job by him. He just needs to keep it nice and clean for these last few laps here. Behind him, Seb. Seb was one of those guys, you know, he probably could be in the top 5 if he didn't have that spin, because he was on the ultimate strategy, had the spin, and unfortunately lost a lot of ground, and now he's down in 10th. Rivershawn's race was also ruined as well due to, I think that was said in the chat, from that overtake that Donut Hole made, so he wasn't as fast on his first stint. And then he struggled on the intermediates. He hasn't really been as quick. He had, I believe, also had a spin. And so as a result, he is running outside the points temporarily. And yeah, some of these guys you can see, like, who's done some wet weather practice, who hasn't. And I think a lot of these gaps have just kind of mellowed out because it's a lot harder to overtake in the wet here, considering you don't have DRS. And onto these DRS straights where you could burn the battery, maybe get the overspeed with the slipstream. You can't put the traction down as nicely as you'd like because it's a fast corner with a sharp turn. And you just can't really do that in the intermediate tires because you don't have the grip.
Absolutely, and it's one of those things where, yeah, you can burn the battery, but so can your opponent, and that just makes life really, really difficult, whereas opposed to these 2 straights that are so long. You look at a player like Galaxy who's got hitting him behind in DRS zone, and yeah, normal dry conditions, you would eat the Red Bull up, really, on especially down towards the Montreal chicane, the longer of the 2 straights, but nonetheless, some good racing all around. Jan Fehler's cut a lot of time off from Darn, but again, it just might be too much. Darn trying to cut into the lead of Patrick, as he would love to finish on the top podium. Ripson's day goes from bad to worse. That is going to pretty much secure P13 no matter what. And now Rivershawn, really the closest one at anything for move, aside from hitting in a field racing set, because he would love to cut this gap back down to within a second, get a lot of slipstream, and get back into the points.
I think we got a couple things to look at. Richie B is now 3.1 behind Donut Hole. He will get the position off of him. So Donut really struggling at this stage. But could you do me a favor? I'm going to knock one now, hopefully not commentator cursing. How many warnings does Patrick have since that time penalty? Is he clear? Like, is he doing okay? Or does he have like 1 or 2 warnings? Because if he accidentally picks up another time penalty, Darn could inherit the race win there. But another guy we do have to, while you do that, another guy we do have to definitely, say good job so far today. He's been keeping with Jan Fehler for the most part, is F1 Racer. I mean, he lost the DRS range to him, but he hasn't really dropped out of that 2-some-second gap behind. So he's done a fantastic job here today. He's pulled away from Kev, who, if you recall, was right behind him. So both Jan and F1 Racer doing everything they can to close in on the Williams pair up ahead, but they're just too far ahead based off of the strategy call and the pit stop under the VSC. So unfortunate, but how's it looking right now with the penalty situation?
Well, I got to say, first off, I have a solid wood desk, so
okay,
that's for you. The knock on wood. But Patrick's clean. He hasn't had any warnings since his 3-second time penalty, so he's looking just fine. 2.1 the gap to Darn after the penalty, so he's looking absolutely fine for the race when he's just got to keep it in front. He's got 3 more laps to bring it home with, but this will be big points for the Williams team as they've got 1 and 2 out on the track. So fantastic from them. This is going to be a really shoot them up the standings. I'm going to grab the standings while you take over as well to see what effect it's going to have on the Constructors.
Yeah, definitely a huge swing for the Williams team. They've had some good results. He had Darn on the podium twice today. He's actually going to get his best result in the season if things hold in second place. He's got 2 third-place finishes and 2 DNFs, if I'm right. And second place will definitely help him. Patrick, meanwhile, looking for his first race victory of the season. He's shown so much good pace all season long. He just has, especially in qualifying. He's been a really good Mr. Saturday. I mean, he's probably running at George Russell's car because he's been really good on qualifying and that qualifying pace. But come Sundays, and the races, he's not always been there. He's had some issues, but today he's not put down a foot wrong. He's got 2 laps and a couple corners to go before the checkered flag comes out. So that is the note. Also, Donut Hole struggling a bit more. He's now only 1.5 ahead of Richie, who's actually gapped Galaxy by 1.8 seconds. Galaxy actually falling under threat from Hittinen. Hittinen realizing that if Richie gets away, that's a free position he will lose. And you definitely don't want to lose that if you're Hittinen. So looking to possibly make a move into 11. No. Nowhere looking right now. There's just nowhere to go through that corner. You just have to be really brave. But even then, you got to also have a little bit of luck because you need the car in front of you to lose the rear end. So how do you think this will affect the standings outside of the fact that Racine Failer is going to get 15 points while Ripson gets 0?
Well, at least in the Constructors, Williams will hop up into second place above the Alpines. We're going to only be 2 points back for them going into the next race. The rain's really coming down now, actually. I got to say, it is looking like it's getting heavier and heavier. So the Inters might start to struggle here for the last 2 laps. We'll see if the rain continues to really chuck it. But nonetheless, Patrick down the back straight for the penultimate time, and him and Darn, there's a lot to celebrate for these two if they can keep it in front on these last 2 laps. It's got to be fantastic. I'll tell you what, I'll look at the individual standings as well, because Patrick, mind you, he's in 18th. He's only got 3 points. He had a 9th place finish on the fastest lap over in Monaco, and he had an 11th in Spain. He DNF'd in Bahrain. He couldn't start in Baku. And this is going to absolutely launch him up onto 28 points. That's going to take him very, very far above a lot of other racers and potentially into the top 10.
Yeah, great result for the Polish driver. Fantastic job here today. Also, you can see a little bit in the background now. Hittinen still trying to pressure Galaxy. I mean, Hittinen's right now over 2 seconds behind Richie B. That's the gap we're also looking at because Hittinen's still trying to get into the top 6. Kevjanek too far ahead, but we're looking at the penalty situation. Rivershan did pick up a 3-second time penalty, unfortunately, so he will not benefit as much. Field Racing Seb has had a good day, but he had a spin. That was the issue with Seb here today as the final lap begins. Seb was looking very good. He probably could have had a top 5 or something with the strategy call that he had, but because he had the spin and lost so much time, he is currently running in at 10th and will probably be out of the points after penalties are applied. But all eyes on the Williams pair. Patrick coming out of turn number 6 and into turn 7 now for the final time. He's got 2 sectors to go. It's been an absolutely amazing drive by the Polish driver. Hasn't been a dominant one, but it was a dominant strategy call because not only did he go for the reverse strategy, he also pitted under the virtual safety car, which saved him about 10 seconds. And look at the gap back to Failer, who also had the speeding into the pit lane, which that's about 15 seconds combined. Failer would have been on pace and battling with Patrick if it was not for the virtual safety car pit stop and for that time penalty. So Patrick has been an absolute, I don't know, genius with his strategy here today. Also, so has Darn, who's right behind. You cannot forget about his fellow Williams driver. But now Patrick, he's got just a couple corners to go. He's on those old intermediate tires. And you can see now he's on the run through 13, 2 corners to go. The Polish driver looking to get his first race victory of the season. He's only got 3 points to his name as he rounds through the final corner. It's flat out to the line. You can see him going towards the pit box. He's weaving across the line in celebration. Patrick wins in France. What an amazing drive by the Polish driver. Darn will come home in second place for a Williams 1-2. Jan Failer started on pole position, did everything he could, but he will only come home in third place here today. F1 Racer will finish in 4th. Now behind is where the penalties start to come in because Kevjanek should be far enough ahead from the rest of the field. He should hold on to 5th place. as he crosses the line. Donut Hole will cross the line on 6 in track as Minty picks up a time penalty on the final lap, but here comes the little flurry of changes. Hitting will finish 6th after penalties. Richie B 7th, Galaxy 8th, Donut in 9th, and Rivershan rounding out your top 10 here today.
Fantastic drive from Patrick. F1 Racer also, I believe, got the fastest lap, so he should have an additional point. So nicely done. And oh no, I'm sorry, Ripson got the fastest lap, and he did not finish in the top 10, so no additional point for the fastest lap this race. But what a drive from Patrick. Absolute perfect call at the end of the day to pit under the virtual safety car to start. Remember, he qualified 10th on the mediums, and it worked out to his favor. He was able to come home for the win. And I gotta say, Liors, I think he's an easy choice for driver of the day.
Liors, or you mean Patrick?
Patrick.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you said Liors, but I was like, I don't know about that.
I meant Patrick, I'm sorry.
Yes.
He qualified P10 on the mediums and comes home in the victory. I think he's an easy choice for driver of the day.
I think that is the easy choice as well. I did not put a foot wrong here today, and Split 1 gets his first race victory of the season. And, you know, he had the strategy call, and it was beautiful. It worked out perfectly. Pitted when he needed to. Had the pace to keep the gaps where he needed. And Patrick is your race winner here in Le Castellet. 4th winner in 5 races. Great drive by the Polishman in the Williams. Wins by over 2 seconds to his teammate Darn for the Williams 1-2. Jan Fehler will round out the podium here today. Fantastic drive by them. I would definitely agree with Patrick being the driver of the day. We're going to go ahead and quickly get a look at the race director in case anyone needs it for a steward's inquiry. Go ahead and scroll through it there. We had a lot of guys get drive-thrus under the virtual safety car, actually. Let's go ahead and look at that real fast. We'll go back to that. 4 drive-thrus for speeding under the virtual safety car. 1 for Ripson, 1 for Rivershan, 1 for Tudor, 1 for Donut Hole. I did not realize we had that many drive-thrus for that.
I don't even think the race director on the screen could have kept up with how many
No.
there were. That's probably why we missed the one when Ripson. But yeah, a lot of speeding under the VC drive-thrus. Yeah, it's really a big shock, and it changed the whole complexity of the race, really, in the end.
Yes, I do agree. We do have our 2nd place finisher, Darn, coming in. He will be our first race interview for today. So we're going to go ahead and bring him in. Darn, you started P12, you went for the reverse strategy, and it paid off for you big time. How are you feeling after that amazing podium drive?
I'm feeling very well. I mean, with Patrick, we went on the alternative strategy, and we saw, I mean, I don't know if he saw it like me, but I went to the dashboard where you can see the times and if there was rain or not. And I calculated that it would be 15 or 20 minutes long. So I was in the perfect time to stop with the mediums. So yeah, I'm so happy because Patrick had the difficult start of the season, and now it's redemption for him. And for me, it's also very good because 18 points in the bag is always a pleasure.
Yes, definitely a lot of points for the Williams team. Neither of you guys are necessarily battling for the Drivers' Championship, but this does elevate you guys into 2nd in the Constructors. And seeing how the McLaren team has been a little bit more one-sided in favor of Fehler grabbing points, do you think you guys can possibly challenge the McLaren driver with the sudden turn in form?
Due to the fact that we won't be battling for the driver championship, I mean, it's quite difficult. I was 37 points behind Fehler before this race, and now I'm at, I think, 32, so it's quite far. I won't focus on that. I will just focus on doing great races and score as much points as I can and being as consistent as I can too. And I think it will help me and Patrick to do great teamwork and maybe do other 1-2s. So a very nice momentum for us, and I hope we'll keep it as long as the season goes.
I do agree, Benny. Do you got any questions you want to ask for our 2nd place finisher here today?
Yeah, it looked like. Well, first off, congratulations. This is going to move you up
Thank
to P3 in the championship, so that's also a big achievement. But it looked like you got stacked under the pits or in the pits under the virtual safety car.
We had to because I mean, there was 3 or 5 second gap between us, or 1.5, I don't remember. I guess it's 2 seconds before I pit. And then I had to stack because it was a VSC. So if some people tried behind me to go in inters, I was fucked up for the race. So I lost 3 or 4 seconds behind him. And that's it. I mean, the only thing I lost was maybe the win because of this, but as in terms of pace and the consistency, it was good, so I won't complain.
I was going to say, were you afraid that that would have been that you wouldn't be able to get a podium with having to stack, or did you know that most of the other drivers were going to have to do the same behind you?
I wasn't too afraid because most people went to softs, which was a mistake, and and the gap was like 6.5 seconds with Donut All who was on hards, so I had quite a sort of a safety gap, and it went very well. So yeah, not much afraid of the double stack, I guess.
I do have one last question for you here today, Darn. Next week is Austria. Before I ask how you feel about that, I don't want to bring any voodoo. So in the last 5 races, you went third, DNF, third, DNF, second.
Yeah, I hope I won't DNF.
Okay, yeah.
I hope.
How do you feel about Austria? Do you think it'll be a fun race for you, or is it going to be rough?
I usually like a lot Austria, so I hope that I will break my curse of being P3 and DNF with this P2 in France. So let's hope that in Austria I will keep some good points. I need to for me, and I don't want to DNF next week.
One last question, if you don't mind, Fizzy.
Of course.
Darn, how's it
Yes.
feel? By the way, does it feel extra special to have won kind of your home Grand Prix? Not one, but like podium so
Yeah,
high in your home
it's
Grand
sort of
Prix.
a win, so I won't complain, as I said before. And I executed, quite perfectly what I expected. For me, I was quite sad that there was rain because I had the pace to do something with the softs in quali. My PB was in 27.2, which was quite strong if I remember correctly when I practiced and tried to analyze from other racers in some leagues. And I had some hopes to win, so I got as much close as I could, and I won't complain. So it's a win for us.
Yes, congratulations, Darn. I hope you have a safe and happy rest of your weekend and a safe and happy week. Congratulations on that absolutely amazing drive, beautiful strategy call, and coming home on the podium. We do look forward to seeing you next week in Austria, and don't worry, we'll be rooting for you to finish and do more than just finish. So we look forward to
Thank
seeing you
you.
out on track next week.
Let me just thank Patrick and say Gigi to him because he deserves it. He had a difficult start of the season in this season, and I hope it will create sort of a redemption for Williams.
Yep, I
And,
hope so
thank
too.
you, guys.
You're welcome. Cheers, Darn. Have a good rest of your night. That was FVR Darn. We're going to go ahead and bring in Patrick in here next. He's going to be our next driver interview. Patrick, you are a race winner here in Tier 1 in AOR. You've had a rough start to the season, but today you called it brilliantly. How are you feeling after that drive? Patrick, your mic might be muted. All right, I think Patrick might be having some technical difficulties there. We'll see. We'll message him real fast. We'll actually go ahead and while he figures that out, we're gonna go ahead and bring in Failure real fast. Just give us 1 second to confirm, because we still have Patrick and Jan Failure to go in. So we'll ask him real fast who wants to go next. But yeah, great drive by all the guys on the podium today. That's for sure. We're just gonna figure out who wants to go in next real fast for the interview and who's ready in the event that we avoid any other technical difficulties. Yeah, just give us 1 second here. We'll just get our next interview driver in. And yeah, we'll continue this interview, post-race interviews from a definitely eventful day. We're going to go ahead and bring in Patrick again. Patrick, we'll try this again. Hopefully you can hear us a little better. You are a race winner here in Tier number 1. How do you feel after the rough start to your season and after that brilliant strategy call? We still can't hear you, Patrick, if you're talking in your mic. I'm not sure if you're having any issues. So we'll just hopefully get this fixed out 1 second. Yeah, do apologies, but definitely a lot of congratulations. If you can hear us, Patrick, hopefully you get your mic sorted out. You definitely are having a lot of congratulations in the AOR stream chat. A lot of people congratulating you for your brilliant drive today here in AOR. It's been an absolutely great drive. We'll let you simmer on how you're feeling as you fix any kind of mic issues. It might be on push to talk or something. You're not server muted, so hopefully we can get that sorted away so we can hear your thoughts on how the drive went today. Alright, so Patrick is having a little bit of mic issues here. Patrick, if you can hear me, if you want to type in some of the responses into chat real fast, you can into Discord, and we can kind of relay it to the fans about your thoughts on how today went. That would be good. At least it's better than nothing. So we can kind of get your input on how you thought today went. Because it seems like you're having some issues. Alright, so actually, here's what we'll do in the meantime while Patrick Simler's on this. We're also going to bring in Failure for the meantime, so Patrick can get his mic sorted out, hopefully. Failure, we're going to bring you in here as well while Patrick figures out his mic settings and lets us know how he did today. P3, probably not the result you wanted today, but still an absolutely great job nonetheless. How are you feeling after that drive?
Yeah, thank you. I feel fine, pleased, I guess. Considering the situation with the rain and everything, I don't think I could have gotten anything more than P3 out of the race today, because Patrick and Darn were just too quick on their one stop, and there was no way catching them, even without my penalty. Even if I pitted the same lap as they did, which probably was the right time, I think they were just still too quick and too far away on the inters to catch them. But P3, I guess, considering Ripson, sadly, I have to say, I don't know exactly what was going on, but then with this drive-through, having a big stinker today, obviously my advantage, but that's not really how you want to have things going. But yeah, I mean, can only be happy.
Yeah, you now have, I believe, a 15-point advantage, as he did have the fastest lap, but he didn't score any points today. How do you feel about that going into Austria next week? Do you think that you're going to be able to continue this momentum? I mean, you had a good drive. I mean, unfortunately, the weather caught you out. But a lot of drivers, the issue was a lot of them had drive-thrus under the safety car, which unfortunate. But how do you feel about Austria next week? Do you think you can keep this momentum going? And if there's a chance of rain, do you think it might affect your strategy going forward based off of what you saw here today?
Usually Austria is a decent track for me, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm a bit scared now because, so far I finished P1, P3, DNF, now P1, P3, and next week. I mean, the walls usually are far away from the track, so hope it's not another Monaco then. But yeah, I think with the rain, I think in Austria I have actually some decent experience in the past with wet races there, so maybe that helps me if it rains. And if it doesn't rain, then well, yeah. It's a good track usually, so I'm looking forward to that one.
I mean, not to jinx it, but I personally have hit the wall several times at Austria, so never count out
Okay.
the walls at Austria.
Why have you said that? Why he's gone full jinx mode?
Oh, fantastic.
No, I think, look, being real for a second, Fizzy, I think you were just mega unlucky at Monaco, Failure. Like, mega unlucky with how you hit the wall. So I think you're going to be all right for Austria. But it was a good race. I meant to ask really quickly, did you didn't pit immediately under the VSC, and Donut Hole dived into the pits? Was that because you didn't want to double stack, or because Donut Hole was ahead of you when the VSC came out?
No, I thought that even if they save time under the VSC now, I thought the rain would be I thought the rain is not strong enough yet for inters, and I thought that you'd lose more time on inters than you gain under the VSC pit stop if you pit that lap. That's why I stayed out and hope, that happens, and then I can open the gap again, and in the end gain some time on the others by doing so. But yeah, that wasn't really the case really. So, but I didn't watch my teammate and what he does or what he doesn't do, because I mean in the end I had to serve the 5-second time penalty anyway. So that wouldn't really have made a big difference in my mind there.
It's been a good one today. Also, you guys have definitely improved on the team championship. However, Williams, after this big day here today, is going to close in the gap a lot. I know you're leading the drivers' championship, but how important to you is also the constructors? Do you think it's not as important, or do you think you don't want to you want to try to keep the Williams team at bay?
Well, obviously, drivers' championship is priority for everybody on the grid, I think. Um, but given that I'm a McLaren fan anyway, so obviously today is a very happy day, right?
Yes. Yes.
I of course would love to see myself and Donatol bringing McLaren also in the AOR Championship in the top 3, top 2, maybe the championship. Who knows? So wherever I can help him, I'll definitely do that.
We completed the McLaren triple crown today. They got 1-2 in Monza, and you got 3rd here. So big congrats.
Exactly. So everything going to plan.
Yeah, exactly. Everything going to plan. So yeah, Williams is going to be second on 76 in that constructors, but your 15 today will push you up to 86. You're going to be 10 points ahead. So still quite a bit of a good buffer between you and the Williams, and we'll have to see if maybe they can put together some more results to challenge, but I think you're going to be all right. But yeah, 15-point lead going into Austria. Any tracks that you said Austria is a good track for you. Are there any tracks that you plan on spending a lot more practice time that are coming up?
Probably Hungary will be one of them. Hungary and Belgium, because those are really tracks where I lack a bit of pace usually compared to the other tracks. But all the other tracks in that European bloc, so Austria, Netherlands, Monza, I really enjoy and really am decent at, I think I say. And then obviously coming into to the season finale, I mean, we have 2 tracks yet to decide, I think. So that's going to be interesting. Which tracks are they? And then, yeah, Brazil in the end. So I'm looking forward to the season now. I think that the worst tracks for me have already been done. So unless for some reason people vote Singapore in the calendar, I think we're looking good.
That is good to hear. Well, Jan, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you for joining us here today post-race, and congratulations on the very strong drive, that 3rd place, another podium to your name. We look forward to seeing you next week in Austria and hopefully putting on yet another show like you have been each week. So.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully see you next week then.
Oh yeah, you'll be seeing me here in the booth, and I'm sure you'll be seeing Benny here as well. Have a safe and happy rest of your week.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Goodbye.
Cheers. All right, that was Jan. Now, Patrick was unable to fix his mic settings by the look of it, but we're going to go ahead and quickly go through the chat on what he was saying. So we asked him a few questions in Discord, kind of asked him what his thoughts were. So we asked him first, what are your thoughts on the race? And he responded with, okay, I'm happy for me and Darn. And they finally did it. They finally had that beautiful race. Strategy on medium was perfect, and then the virtual safety car coming out at the perfect time. Everything just fell into place. And he does think that Jan deserved the win if it was a complete race or if the strategy didn't fall their way, but because of the strategy, everything just came into play, and they are insanely happy for the Williams team. Now, we also asked him, were you ever concerned about Darn potentially beating you off penalties after he got the 3-second time penalty? And yes, he was concerned because he did not do any practice on the intermediate tires, but if he were quicker, he would have been happy if Darn would have beaten them. He was a little concerned though, but he was able to keep enough pace to keep Darn behind. And lastly, we do have his thoughts about Austria, because we asked him how does he feel about Austria, and he said, I'm a bit scared because of penalties, but he's looking forward to have another good race with Darn and hopefully continue to put the Williams pair up towards the front. Patrick, it's okay that you weren't able to talk and that the voice chat wasn't working, because we still got your thoughts on things. Congratulations on winning here today. An absolutely fantastic drive. Benny's asking him one last question. Benny, would you like to share what you just asked him?
Yeah, I just wanted to get his thoughts on taking P2 into constructors, because obviously Darn has been up towards the top, and again, he's going to Darn himself will take 3rd in the drivers after this performance today. So big congratulations to him. But you have a lot of teams in the constructors championships that are kind of split. Jan Fehler is a good example of that. McLaren are leading the way. They are going to have 86 points. But 70 or 83 of those 86 will be via Jan Fehler, although I believe Donahoe might have finished in the points as well, so I didn't quite calculate all of his. But still, point being, they're very skewed in the constructors with a lot of teams, and you see that kind of throughout all the tiers, really, right?
Yes.
But nonetheless, just his thoughts on being able to take 2nd in the constructors championship ahead of the Alpine F1 team, who I believe only had a single point score today.
Yeah,
I believe that was Kev Genetics.
I believe so too. Let me check my screenshots because I did screenshot it there today. Looking at the screenshots, yeah, Kev got P5, Seb dropped to P11 after penalties. So unfortunate for the Alpine drivers to not have as good a result, but that is racing. You know, that's how it goes. Sometimes you just can't, you know, not everything falls your way. Not everything can fall in your lap like a silver platter like it did today for the Williams team. That's for sure. But I'm sure we'll see them come back strong next week as they have been a really good tandem, and we might definitely have ourselves a nice Constructors Championship battle on our hands. Congratulations to all of our finishers and drivers today. Benny, you got any final remarks you'd like to add?
No, a crazy race. Our 4th winner in 5 races with Patrick. So the championship is just getting started through 5 races. Cannot wait for Austria next week. I don't think, sadly, I'll be with you, Fizzymon. I believe I'm already pre-booked, but still really, really looking. I'll catch the VOD, mate, and I'm really looking forward to the race.
All right, that's all good. Now, Patrick did just get back to you on your question. He's really excited about the Constructors, and I think he's going to try to see if him and Darn can take it to the McLaren team. So we might have a little bit of a rivalry brewing there, but my final remarks are thank you to our sponsors one last time, Elgato, SIMSOK, and Driver 61. Be sure to go ahead and check out Elgato's Stream Deck, available at their website, SIMSOK. Their performance socks definitely would give you the competitive edge, as you saw here today. Someone with SIMSOK socks definitely would have had a strong race here in Le Castellet for the French Grand Prix. And Driver 61, if you feel like you're struggling out on track, you're struggling for grip, you're struggling for pace, who knows what it is, join the Driver 61 Driver Academy today. He offers 25% off consultation sessions plus a free coaching session when you use code AOR Driver61. Go to driver61.com to learn more. Thank you to our sponsors, and thank you to you, all of our viewers. We appreciate you guys as always. We hope to see you here next week when we go to Spielberg, Austria for the Red Bull Ring. It's going to be an exciting one. Will we get 5 winners in 6 races? Will we see Failure grab his 3rd race victory? Will we see Ripson maybe come back and have a nice comeback race, or will we see someone else win for a 2nd time? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and hope you have a safe, happy, and healthy rest of your weekend and week. So thank you for joining us here. This has been another feature presentation for Apex Online Racing. We do have more action on the channel. We got the North America's race later on today. And then in the coming week, we have our ACC leagues flying once again. Be sure to catch the Tier 1 and Tier 2 action on the channel, along with other racing leagues with iRacing and Project Cars. I am Fizzymon, alongside me is Benikage, and as always, thank you for watching, and we hope you have a safe week.